Facebook. And we often talk a lot. And I am the type of person, if God drops a nugget on me 5 o'clock in the morning, I will call you. But I want to see women be the best them that they can be. So even doing programs like this, it takes a lot out of me. But I think Cece and Shatima are probably glad that it's about over, so I can stop calling them so much. But they ain't seen nothing yet. But anyway, Cece is a mom, and she's gonna tell you guys all that. She's a wife, and she is now my adopted niece. So, gonna present the Caprice and introduce to the rest of you, Cece.
Hey y'all. Hey. I'm amazing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm first tell y'all I'm not Christian. I'm Christian-ish. So I'm gonna say some foul stuff on up here. I hope y'all can forgive me ahead of time. My name is Catherine. Please call me Cece if you want to remain on my good side. I'm 37 years old. I'm from Durham. As Benita said, I am married and I have 7 kids. 7 kids, y'all. 17, 16, 10, 9, 5, 4, and 2. Girl, it's a struggle every day. But the fact that I have these 7 kids and I'm standing right here is a testament to my strength. When we think about domestic abuse, we usually think a few things. One of them, the victim usually being the woman and the children. When it comes to the abuser, we always think, oh, he needs a restraining order, he needs to go to jail, etc. But we don't really address why the abuser is abusing. It's not natural for us to beat on one another. That's a learned behavior or something that has happened to you in life. I am an abuser. I beat the odds every day, and I beat the odds with this one. I'm a female abuser, so I'm going to tell you why I am a female abuser. So, growing up, my family life started amazing. I had both parents. We didn't have the best, or I didn't have the best of everything, or even had a lot of money, but they made sure we had a good time. I'm not sure when things went wrong, but even now at 37 years old, I'm still trying to process what happened and what caused our family to go downhill. I think that most of us are used to hearing adults argue. It's no big deal, depending on the language being used. But not many of us grew up watching our parents fight. I remember the first time I saw my dad hit my mom and the pain that I saw on her face. Now my mom, up until that point, was the strongest woman I knew. She was from a small town called Hamlet, North Carolina. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. I've been one time in my life. I was a kid. I'm from Durham, right? So we went to a family reunion, and the food was awesome because it's a country. And I had to use the bathroom, y'all. So I was like, y'all gotta use the bathroom. And my mom was like, girl, go to the outhouse right there. Jesus be offense. But it's a white outhouse, okay? But that's how, matter of fact, we call her Big Country because she was from the country, one of the strongest women I knew. I even remember this time growing up when my younger sister, some dude in the projects hit my little sister with a shoe. He had to be like 6 something. My mom very 5, I'm giving her 5'2". She was probably not even that tall. She went out there very much David and Goliath and the hell out of him. I'm happy we didn't have social media right there because that video would have been going around the whole world, okay? So, to see my dad hit her and the pain etched on her face, now that I'm older and more experienced, I realized that it wasn't just a physical pain, y'all. That was an emotional pain. My mom was a virgin when she met my dad. She had never lived life. She lived with my grandmother, and she married my dad. So she went from my grandmother's house to my dad's, a house with my dad. She was 30 years old. I don't know about y'all, but I remember losing my virginity. And when we give up our virginity, y'all, we give up a piece of our soul, Amen. Our essence, our trust to that man. So to imagine doing that and that man turn around and hit you. My God, she had to have, I can't even imagine the thoughts that she was having in her head. The pain wasn't physical, it was an emotional pain. I'm about to shake thinking about it. So who understands that pain without help becomes somebody else's burden? I'm going to say it again. Pain without help becomes somebody else's burden to carry. My mom's pain became my burden. I had to carry that weight. Now we grow up in this misconception that because that's our parents, that we owe them our life. I don't owe my parents, I'm sorry, you don't owe your parents or anybody toxic your life. The Bible talks about honor thy father and mother, right? But that same Bible discusses parents don't be aggravating your children. And mine was aggravating me. Now my mom, I had grew up, like I said, I was abused by both my parents. I had grown up, I was called a hoe, a slut, stupid, a bitch, I'm sorry, there's a Christianish part coming out, a liar, and anything else derogatory that you could think to call another human being. Now I don't know when it went bad for me and my mom that day, but it went bad real quick. I had already been accustomed to those names. I was even used to being hit. I have been without food while everybody else in that house ate. I have been made to sleep on the back porch while everybody else was warm. A bully, once they realize that their normal tactics don't work, they up the ante. My mom is no exception, was no exception to that. We were in my room when it happened. Normally when my mom would come, or my dad would come and get in my face, I would cower with fear. But I had learned that if you swim, you bet not sink. And I swam hard with them that day, with my mom that day. I tried to avoid the fight because guess what? No matter how much our parents hurt us, that's still our parents. We still feel obligated to deal with their toxic pain. I would move one way, my mom would follow me. I would move another way, there she would go. Y'all, I was trapped in a wall and I just could not do it. So I balled my fist up and we proceeded to fight. Now I'm younger, but guess what, y'all? That's big country. And she took me down, okay? She took me down. I held my own for a little while, but my mom grew up on the farm, not fighting, but playing with pigs and all that other stuff. I was from Durham, North Carolina. Fighting the neighbor next door ain't nothing compared to fighting the damn pig. I'm sorry. Okay? So again, yes, she got me down. Sorry. When I made that impact to my mom, she was no longer my mom. She was the bee next door. And I had to fight her. So again, my mom, big country, took me down. But she had to have help. So she called my little brother and sister in there, because I'm the oldest, to hold me down while she hog-tied me, y'all. Now, she hog-tied me with just some wires, telephone cords, things like that. Hog-tied me to the closet door. Said some derogatory stuff to me. Turned the light off and left me in that room by myself. I'm a teenager. Scared out my mind. The room is dark. And I want y'all to picture this with me. A picture your mom, the one who gave you birth, hog-tie you to the floor. Now, I don't know if y'all know, but every time a woman gives birth, that's as close to death as she get without dying. She damn near died trying to give birth to me, and she hog-tied me to that closet door. Then I had to remember, she wasn't alone in doing that. My brother and sister helped her. The same brother and sister who I struggled with in the projects. The same brother and sister I cooked for. The same brother and sister I babysat had no hesitation in helping that woman hog-tie me. Now I'm a teenager in high school. As I'm sitting there in that dark, y'all, I'm losing circulation in my legs. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna have to amputate my legs. Because I don't know, I'm a kid. I'm thinking they're gonna have to amputate my legs. I think I was about 15, 16. No healthy 15, 16-year-old person should have to think about, am I gonna be able to go to school? Will I find happiness? Will I get married? Will I be able to have a child if I have no legs? But that's what I had to do. Thankfully, I lived, as you can see clearly. But that was very impactful for me, and it actually determined my stance on a lot of things. For a long time, I hated females because every female represented that woman who hurt me. It's just now within the recent few years that I'm learning to embrace every woman, especially a black woman, because my story is not the only story of being abused by another black woman. So let me fast forward a few more years. I'm now an adult with a daughter. I'm an adult with a daughter who has not gotten help for the past pain. And that's what generational curses, thank you so much, is to live with that pain and not address that pain and pass that pain down to your child. Toxic behaviors without help are bound to become a cycle. Now add another person to this mix. My first biggest mistake in my life being my ex-husband. He was also toxic. But he came in at a point where I still didn't love myself. He took my daughter and raised her as his own. Matter of fact, my daughter's first words was "Dad," and it was directed towards him. I ended up getting pregnant again. But y'all, I was dating, so I was still being intimate with my daughter's father and him, but I was able to realize like this wasn't his child, this was my daughter's father's child. So I told him, and he said, you know what, it's all good. He doesn't help you with your oldest daughter, with your daughter anyway. I'm going to raise your son as mine. It's no point in telling him anything, and I didn't. And that's what he did, y'all. Everywhere we went, he would say, yes, he's the mother of my kids, etc. My son actually has his middle name as his first name. His family welcomed me, and I finally felt like I found the happiness that I deserve. But y'all, that cold water hit me like crazy. When you don't love yourself, you ignore the basic warning signs to stay away from somebody. And that is exactly what I did. One of the warning signs that I should have paid attention to was his desire to always be right about everything. He did not want to be wrong, and you better agree with him, okay, or it was going to be a problem. Initially, this type of thing didn't bother me. It was whatever, I don't care. But I think I was just having a bad day. In hindsight, the argument was over nothing. But when you pray to God, He answers your prayers. You might not like the way He gives it to you, but He gonna give it to you. I had prayed, God, just tell me what to do. We got into this argument, like I said, it was no big deal. But what he did was get in my face. Now, I had already told this man how to deal with me when you were angry, and getting in my face was not the thing to do. Y'all, I balled my fist up, and we fought like two grown-ass men in that living room in Durham, North Carolina. Y'all would think I would have left him alone, right? Because he reminded me of my mother, my father, my brother, and my sister. But guess what happened? The flesh is weak, right? And the sex was good, especially after that argument. And that's what happened. We became intimate. And honestly, it felt like to us, every time we got into an argument, the bigger it was, the more physical it was, the better the makeup was. Now, this continued for years. It wasn't a 2-year thing. I actually ended up bringing another child into this world in that type of environment. One day, me and him got into a huge argument. And I went in on him so hard. Yo, I promised the devil was like, okay, Cece, chill out. Like, it was so hard, I had to take a step back. And I knew it was time to divorce him. And that is what I did. I filed for divorce. And that was one of the best decisions I had ever done. After that, I went and got some therapy. Because I needed to learn who I was. I had went from my mom's house, my parents' house, dealing with abuse, to becoming an abuser myself, to being with somebody who did not love me the way I wanted to be loved or deserved to be loved. So I went and got me some therapy. And I always advise anybody who's been through anything to get help, especially in the black community. In the black community, we have this thing where we say pray it away. The Bible says faith without works is dead. You pray for a therapist and go find you a therapist. I'm sorry. Jesus be offense, okay? Go find you a therapist. And that's what I did. In going to therapy, I learned what I wanted, what I didn't want. I knew what I would refuse. I also learned my triggers when it comes to wanting to lash out physically. So I got the help I needed, and guess who comes back into my life? Not my ex-husband, because I already told him I ain't want him. My 2 oldest kids' dads come back into my life. Now, y'all, by this time I was celibate. I didn't want to have any intimacy because the flesh is weak. And for me, the way my sex was, or the way I looked at sex, I was getting caught up in love between a man's legs. That's not where love is at. Love is within yourself. It was not in that penis. You understand? Even though it can feel amazing. It was not in that penis. So, when he came back, my celibacy was gone. Like, I mean, it is what it is. It went out the window. But my self-love didn't. However, he had issues that he had to handle himself. My kid's father was my first everything. My first real boyfriend, my first sexual partner, the first one to ever get me pregnant. He was my first everything. I loved him to my core. But he didn't love himself, y'all. He was going through some things. He tried to commit suicide when we sat right here beside him in the bed. He was taking pills and drinking bleach. Now I had to watch that. Now mind you guys, I deal with suicide thoughts all the time. I have mental illness. This is not abnormal for those with mental illnesses to actually have those type of thoughts. But to see somebody doing it that you love, it's very hard. So eventually he went to Holly Hill. That's a mental facility, in case you weren't aware of that. We went in, and I found out I was pregnant with my 4th child. Our 3rd together. By the time I realized and was able to tell him, he was already in Georgia, which is where he's from. He needed to go back home. When his parents came and got him because he needed a fresh start. Now my 4th child, Giovanni, 5 years old. He's not unhealthy, but he's not the healthiest. When I had him, he had to have a colostomy at 3 days old. Matter of fact, I'm still dealing with it. He might have to go back to the hospital next week. He was born with GI issues. So y'all, I'm in and out of the hospital with him. I have 3 other kids. I work full time. I don't even think I took my whole 6 weeks of maternity because I had to pay bills. Every day I'm getting stronger though. Finally, my kid's father comes back up. And when he comes back, y'all, he's coming back to a different woman. I don't have time for the mess. I got things to do and bills to pay. He comes back.